Welcome back to Blowing the Doors Off. I'm your host, Ethan Gomberg. You may remember last year I did an episode on student-athlete compensation. Well, I've got some major college news, and no, I'm not talking about the news that I'm finally going back to college in a month, which is great, really. Finally, I have a reason to stop doing whatever this is and instead sell out. I'll become an econ major. The news out of colleges is from last month.
New state laws and NCAA rules went into effect at 12:01 a.m., allowing collegiate athletes to profit off their name, image, and likeness for the first time.
Their name, image, and likeness, commonly referred to as NIL. Changes to NIL rules could allow college athletes to earn pay for endorsement deals, like being a social media influencer on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.
Besides the fact that our timelines are going to be flooded with ads for Bang Energy, this is a big win. Players can finally use their brand to sign deals. I can already picture the games this season. And here's Oregon running back James Strawberry, who recently signed a deal with Edible Arrangements. Well, gosh, I tell you, I love Edible Arrangements. You really can't go wrong with those as an anniversary gift. You're spot on, Joe. Back to the brutality. Tonight, let's talk about the recent developments that have led to NIL reform, the issues that still exist, and finally some ways athletes have been cashing in over the past month. But let's start with one of the catalysts for change, who you might remember from the first video.
My name is Nancy Skinner. I'm a state senator from California, and I have introduced a bill which would give college athletes the right to their name, image, and likeness.
Since then, states all over the country began to craft legislation just like California's to try and challenge the NCAA.
So you see these states passing these laws, and they have an effective date of July 1st. And the NCAA is really backed into a corner. So just this week, the association decided to essentially wave the white flag and let student athletes across the country start making money off their names, images, and likenesses, whether they live in a state with one of these laws or not.
There was also a Supreme Court ruling.
The Supreme Court ruled against the NCAA Monday in a case involving student athletes receiving certain benefits. The unanimous ruling allows athletes to receive education-related benefits like laptops, paid internships, and scholarships for grad school.
Come on, that's the bare minimum. It's like taking your kids to Six Flags, but only for a meal. The concurrence by Brett Kavanaugh, though, was the harshest criticism of the NCAA ever by a sitting justice.
It reads in part, quote, "Nowhere else in America can businesses get away with agreeing not to pay their workers a fair market rate on the theory that their product is defined by not paying their workers a fair market rate. And under ordinary principles of antitrust law, it is not evident why college sports should be any different. The NCAA is not above the law."
I feel like I've heard a quote like that before. Let's see that again. Nowhere else in America can a privileged man get away with assault on a woman on the theory that their privileged upbringing and academic qualifications exempt them. And under ordinary principles of the law, it is not evident why his case should be any different. Entitlement is not above the law. Justice Kavanaugh also stated that, quote, NCAA's business model would be flatly illegal in any other industry in America, end quote. At first, I was surprised Kavanaugh ruled in favor of student athletes, but then I remembered he has lots of college in him.
I liked beer. Blacking out, I got into Yale. I still like beer.
This type of ruling is long overdue. And not only has the NCAA taken advantage of student athletes for decades, they've also punished them for means of survival. Take the story of a former UCLA football player recalling what the NCAA did to his roommate.
My All-American teammate, Donnie Edwards, was on a radio show talking about what it was like to be a college athlete. Donnie said that he was grateful for his scholarship, but for some reason the scholarship check didn't cover his basic necessities. And in fact, he didn't have any food in his refrigerator. He went home after the show and found that there were some groceries sitting on his doorstep, left anonymously, which he ended up eating. And somehow the NCAA found out, and when they found out, they suspended him.
That is just horrible. What makes it worse is that the groceries left on his doorstep were just bags of canned soup and frozen tofu. But stories like this have been far too common, and for far too long, older white men have been making millions of dollars off of the backs of primarily younger black athletes who get none of the money. And a lot of the time, these same white men claim they support the new reforms, but their undertones suggest otherwise.
The only thing I'm concerned about is I'm all for the players. I just don't. Everything in college has always been even and equal, whether it's scholarship, how much money every player gets, and all that. And this is going to create an imbalance in that to some degree.
Yes, everything in college has always been even and equal, in that 0 is an even number, and every player has equally gotten 0. I mean, obviously it's going to create an imbalance, but you never see someone concerned about that imbalance in other industries. Let's see another clip.
As I've said many times, players are getting more now than they ever had because of the meal plan and the cost of attendance.
I always tell my players, be grateful for what you have. Back in my day, players didn't have a meal plan. They ate garbage straight out of the trash. I showed up to practice, threw up all over the court. They played in their own filth. They called it the defensive slide. And why do players need the money? It's ruining the game, I tell you. I'd quit coaching, but then I remember I'd lose my multi-million-dollar contract. Former Auburn coach Tommy Tuberville, whose name makes him sound like a first year at Hogwarts, had something similar to say.
Well, the players are already getting paid. You got to remember that. They're getting their scholarship, plus they're getting, most of them are getting $600, $700, $800 cash a month for what we call cost of attendance.
Tuberville, you can't say that when you literally got paid $5 million to quit your job. It's true. He was such a bad coach that his team paid him to leave. But Tuberville then doubled down on the importance of education.
But it should always be about education.
Funny you should say that, Tuberville, when you might want to retake an 8th grade history class yourself.
Listen to what the former college football coach said when asked if he thought the two parties could find a way to work together in Congress.
You know, our government wasn't set up for one group to have all three of branches of government. It wasn't set up that way. Or three branches, you know, the House, the Senate, and the executive.
And listen, it may not be a huge deal for a former football coach to draw a blank on our 3 branches of government. I mean, they're not the sharpest tools in the shed. But you might reconsider it when you learn that he's actually now a U.S. Senator. Tommy Tuberville got elected to an Alabama Senate seat in 2020. And as expected, he's been an embarrassment his first year in office, from objecting to count electoral votes won by Biden to breaking federal financial transparency laws just the other week. Because he's clearly unfit for the Senate seat and cares more about money than having an actual job, I started a GoFundMe. Get Tommy Tuberville to resign as senator with a goal of, yes, $5 million. He did it once, let's get him to do it again. But whether coaches like it or not, players can now make money off of their own name, and that leaves the NCAA at a standstill. By one estimate, 40% of the NCAA's employees in some way work to defend Bylaw 12, which was the eligibility standard. They're basically left with nothing left to do. It's like if high schools began allowing kids to vape in school. The dean's job would be pointless, as 40% of their work is to stop kids from hitting vapes. The reality is that the NCAA will never be able to fully atone for the exploitation of student athletes, but it doesn't mean they shouldn't try.
The NCAA should voluntarily restore all records and rescind all penalties that had to do with money. That includes Reggie Bush, the Fab Five, the UMass women's tennis team, because it's clear that the rules were not fair. And frankly, the rules were against the law. They violated federal antitrust law. And I don't think the NCAA is going to admit that, but I think they'd go a long way to restoring whatever shred of credibility they may have left.
Take the story of Reggie Bush. The USC player won college football's highest honor in 2005, the Heisman Trophy. But the NCAA later forced Bush to give up his Heisman after they determined that he accepted money from sports marketers. He received one of the most severe punishments in the history of college sports and is the only player who ever had to return his Heisman. And that last fact sounds much worse when you learn of another Heisman winner, O.J. Simpson. Even O.J. didn't have to give up his trophy, which really shows the priorities of the NCAA. Making some money under the table, unacceptable. Committing a double murder, we'll let it slide. But after the changes to NIL, the NCAA had the ball in their hands with a chance to right their previous wrongs. They released a statement the other week in response saying, quote, "Although college athletes can now receive benefits from their names, images, and likenesses through activities like endorsements and appearances, NCAA rules still do not permit pay-for-play type arrangements," end quote. They didn't just drop the ball, They turned around and punted it straight into Reggie Bush's face. Moving on, let's get to some good news. Ellie the Elephant has been cashing in on NIL deals. Remember her from the first video? The talented trampoline gymnast who couldn't profit off her social media virality and was struggling in school. Since July 1st, she's monetized her YouTube channel, accepted a paid internship at Cirque du Soleil, and signed her first endorsement deal with Lyft for their new rideshare program. She's also pledged to donate half of her proceeds to an elephant crisis fund that protects elephant wildlife from poachers. Great job, Ellie. And it's not just her. Other student athletes have been making money by signing deals, creating their own brands, and even playing video games. Take Yoke Gaming. It's an app that gives fans the chance to play video games with their favorite athletes. Roll the clip.
There he is. Jack Anders, QB for Florida.
Let's do it.
You kind of look like Disco Stu. So basically how Yoke works is like, I pay you to play with me.
You pay the company for coins, and then the company pays me.
So, but isn't that kind of like pay to play?
Yeah.
How was your internship as a marketing and social media coordinator at Game Plan U?
It was cool.
Do you want to do like sports marketing later on?
Maybe. I really don't really know what I really want to do. Like, I think about that a lot, but...
Sounds like you got it all figured out.
What about you? What are you interested in?
I want to be a Sherpa.
A what?
Or wait, where are we dropping first?
You can pick. I don't care.
Trusting the Sherpa, I see. Smart man.
You got 3 first names?
Yeah, I got 3 first names.
Is that your whole name?
My parents were like, they didn't know which one to pick. So like, they went with all 3.
So that's your first name?
Jack Will Ethan, yeah.
Jack Will Ethan is your first name.
Yeah, I told like they liked all 3 of them, so they didn't know which one they went with.
What's your last name?
I'm not comfortable sharing that. Are you a big chocolate milk guy?
Did you see my tweet?
Yeah, I'm one of your 3 likes. Chocolate milk or McDonald's fries? Oh, they're under us. Got him. Hey, good work.
Shit.
Yo, that was all you. You got great communication skills.
Thanks, man.
Can I give you an endorsement on LinkedIn?
I don't know what that is, but go for it.
I can say on LinkedIn, like, this guy's a great communicator.
Yeah, go for it.
Thanks, man. Your Uber's here. What's your favorite of the 3 of name, image, and likeness?
Well, it's all the same thing. Like, it's all just like, you could use your name, you could use your image, or you can use your, like, it's all connected. It's not like you use name and then you forget the other 2.
Oh, I thought it was like you like have your name out there and then like people are like, oh, I want your name. I'm gonna give you some money for that.
Nah.
Sorry, this is my first time driving Uber. What about image? Like if they like how you look, can they get you money for that?
Like, image is like, if they want me to send them an autographed picture of myself, like, that would be like image. Or like, if the company wanted to use my face for a commercial or something, that's image.
I feel like that's likeness.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is like, they're all tied together. Like, it's just like, that's just the name of it.
Oh, so it is
like
name. It is name.
Yeah, it's like it's like a triple threat in basketball. You can shoot it, you can pass it, or you can dribble, but it's all called the triple threat.
Oh, that's a great description right there. That makes a lot of sense now, yeah. See, I need like the sports analogies, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just curious, do you know the 3 branches of government?
The executive, the legislative, and
Hey, that's one better than a sitting U.S. Senator. Mr. J. Ray. He's killing our dynamic, man. His 2 first names are no match for my 3. Alright, well,
nice talking to you.
Thank you for playing.
Yeah, of course, man, no problem.
Best of luck with name, image, or likeness.
I appreciate it.
I had to pay $10,000 for that chance. But the point is, NIL reform is a big step in allowing athletes to make money, but there's still a long way to go.
Rather than being at a finish line, the athletes are barely at the starting blocks. They should be allowed full economic rights in the marketplace, not just, hey, you can have your NIL rights with certain guardrails and restrictions. Everybody else has full rights, every other student, every other person. And I don't think it's going to take long for more cases to come down the pike with regard to not only NIL that would remove guardrails, but also pay for play, where the schools can start paying the players. I think that's coming in the future.
That would be great news. Finally, schools won't be paying people like Tuberville to quit his job and can instead pay the athletes who can then pool their money to get Tuberville to quit his much more important job. That way, he can stick to his 3 branches of government.
On offense, defense, or punter,